I love that we're talking about sex after COVID because I think that's like definitely a big topic. The percentage is very small of couples that have the same libido.
As soon as you said take a break, I was like, Rachel and Ross, we need to discuss what a break is.
Welcome to Cheap in Therapy. I'm Brooke Houghton, and in case you can't afford to pay a therapist, you're definitely in the right spot. Because today we're going to be chatting through an anonymous reader question about sex and relationships, from the good to the bad to the dwindling to the non-existent. We're going to be bringing on sex, marriage, and family therapist Jenifer Smith to give us the inside scoop on knockin' boots.
Hey Jen, thank you so much for being on Cheaper Than Therapy.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here. I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh. So today we are going to be talking all things sex in relationships. You know, from having some problems in the bedroom to not enough sex to simply sex not really happening. Mm-hmm. So I'm so excited to have you on here, and I think we should dive into our first reader question of the day.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
My boyfriend and I have been in a relationship for 10 months. We had a lot of sex in the first 5 months, and then we both had COVID. He's very protective and sweet and said, let's not do it until we're completely okay, even after quarantine. And since then, we've had sex only like 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months. I mean, we went from doing it every day initially to this. I confronted him about it and he said it's just in my head and that everything is normal. I know he's not cheating because we are together almost every hour of the day, except for when he is at work. And even then, we talk on the phone and text. And it's him that wants to see me every single day. He gets restless if I am busy with family or friends. He's also not seeing his friends that often, very rarely. FYI, he lives with 5 other guys, so I don't go over to his place, and I live with my brother and sister, so he doesn't come over to my place that often. We are mostly in the car. But even if we get a chance to be alone at home for some time, I don't feel him being that romantic with me. We hug a lot, we kiss, but no sex or any other very intimate stuff. I don't know what that is, but it bothers me. We love each other a lot.
Wow, that's really interesting. I love that we're talking about sex after COVID because I think that's like definitely a big topic. I think COVID has affected everybody really different, physically and mentally, right? So I would tell, and did they say how old they were?
No, they didn't specify their age, but we know that they are just in a relationship, not married.
Okay. You have to respect the person's choice, right? If they do not want to have sex at this point, and they may still really be feeling some of the symptoms. I mean, COVID's still so new. We don't really know what the long-term effects are going to be. We're kind of just still speculating to some degree. So he might really have just a low sex drive at this point. And that could have happened because of COVID, could be happening because of mental reasons or emotional reasons. But I think this partner has to find ways and find other ways to actually connect with intimacy with this partner. It sounds like he's making attempts to still be engaged and be, present in the relationship. And I hope that this young lady's not valuing that if we're not having sex, then does this relationship really mean anything? I hope that she's still really thinking about, like he's showing me in a lot of other ways he's committed. So this might just be a phase. I might just have to ride this out and wait until he is ready to have sex more frequently. The living arrangements definitely seems like it poses some issue. That's a lot of people on both sides to have to factor in if you want to be intimate or not. If she has the means, I think it could be good to even like plan a weekend getaway where you have just designated time to spend together alone, uninterrupted, and see if you can kind of get that spark back if he's open to it. But I think she's going to have to respect his boundaries right now and wait until he is ready.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I think a stigma that at least I found and heard a lot about is that, men want it more than women. But the truth is, everybody's sex drive is so different. But I do think that kind of poses a thought cloud around some relationships of, okay, why am I not being desired? Am I doing anything wrong? Is there something wrong with the relationship? And, she said that she's spoken with him. He says, everything's fine. So at that point, what would you say maybe she needs to do in terms of work to feel okay with that and kind of work around the difference in sexual drive in this relationship?
Yeah, I think that they have to have a conversation of what's the happy medium. Can we bump it up to maybe like once a month? or once a week. But it has to be some progression there and really see, but you don't want your partner to be forcing themselves to have it if they really don't want to. That's not ideal at all for anybody. And you want them to be, you want them to desire to be with you. So I think they have to find a real common goal of what's obtainable for both of them. But I think she also needs to be able to still pleasure herself. So maybe she does get herself some new toys, or, ask him would he be willing to watch her use a toy. That could be an option, and that might get things more, get him engaged a little bit more. I'm always okay with a voyeur. So that might be something, or just having time of intimacy without having intercourse, just laying together naked, or taking a shower together, or giving each other massages, or just spending time cuddling. That could just be just another form of intimacy that doesn't involve sex, that still allows you that closeness. And I think it sounds like validation she's needing to make sure that he still desires her and wants to be there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely it. Because you even mentioned cheating and that kind of being on her mind, worrying. But you're right, there's a lot of factors in here, from housing situations to the fact that they're both ill, and still recovering post-COVID. So something that I also struck out to me is the fact that he's not seeing his friends very often, if rarely. And something that you touched on is how mental health can impact libido. Do you think maybe there could be some mental health issues? And how does that impact libido?
Withdrawing from friends, partner, work, not engaging, spending more time at home. Those are definitely signs of depression. And some of that has been linked to COVID, just depending on how it affected everybody. So, or that particular person that had it. So depression does affect libido quite a bit. Your brain doesn't have the capacity to have desires, or to even have the urge to want to perform, to have sex, to anything. You're just not engaged. Those receptors are almost blocked at that time. So the libido decreases when it's not being stimulated, or they just feel more comfortable masturbating because they just can't be bothered with having to engage with somebody else, because then I have to perform. I have to do all these things. I have to say these things. And that just seems too exhausting sometimes when you're experiencing depression. But that will be up to him to want to make a change, to reach out to a therapist. Maybe he would be receptive to her suggesting that, or even talking to his friends about getting them engaging him and going out, or coming over and doing something with him. She could make that extension as well. But he lives in a house with 5 guys. He might just be overly stimulated, just with all that's going on. He might just want some time alone.
Definitely. And, she is mentioning that they do have a lot of affection and a lot of love for each other. They're still kissing, they're spending a lot of time together, he still wants to see her every day. This relationship does seem like it has a lot of healthy aspects too, minus the fact that their libidos are a little bit mismatched at the moment. And, your expertise, how often do you see relationships where people, don't have coinciding libidos?
The percentage is very small of couples that have the same libido, the same sex drive. It's very low. I think when you find it, great, hold on to it. But again, it's going to change too. It's good right now, but it's going to change. Our libidos change as our testosterone levels change, as people get older. Your life circumstances, that all impacts where your sex drive is. So a lot of people come to sex therapy because one partner usually wants to be having more sex, and another person's like, no, I'm A-okay with where it is. I don't really want to have more. And then we have to talk about what are some of the underlying issues behind that, or it's a desire issue. Sometimes I send people out to get hormone level testing. Your hormone levels can be low.
And one thing she does say is that they've only been together 10 months. So it's not a very long relationship. And they went from, almost every day in the first 5 months to now it's dwindled on down. So could you talk a little bit about the honeymoon stage and how, when you have a new lover, it's so exciting. It's amazing. The sex is so good. And then over time it gets a bit boring. It's in my experience. I'm speaking for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, technically they still should be in the honeymoon phase, but I mean, everybody has a different honeymoon phase, and it's been a very weird time to date and be in relationships during a like pandemic, right? And like during COVID, it's super weird. You figure if they've been together 10 months, like they've been in COVID this whole time. But a lot of times in new relationships, I find that people don't talk enough about their sexual history. So I would be curious to know if this is a pattern for him.
I never heard of that. And, how do you go about approaching that conversation with somebody that's new in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point where they are in their relationship, she can bring it up because it is kind of, it's current, of being able to say, in the beginning of our relationship, we were so intimate. I really enjoyed that. And then it just feels like it came to a halt. Is that normal for you? Or is this the first time it's ever happened? Because you want to know if this is something that this has been a pattern, then kind of talk about like, well, what do you lose interest? Do you lose desire? Do you not really, is it because of the intimacy? Like what, like then you can kind of explore like what that pattern might look like. And then if it's just like, no, this is something new, you still can unpack that of like, what's changed? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? How can I support you in this, as your partner? So there's lots of different ways to unpack both scenarios based on whatever the response is. But the point is like, you want to get to some understanding. So it is important to ask those uncomfortable conversations.
I love that. And, let's say that happens, they have the conversation, and it just comes down to the fact that they do have different desires, different time schedules, and, compromise can be made. In your opinion, if you do see that, is it, worth it looking for a partner that has more, amenable desires to yours? Or can a relationship work when, sexual desires aren't necessarily being matched?
The girl who wrote in, I think it will depend on her. Like she might be in love. It sounds like he has a lot of other great qualities that she's really a fan of. So you don't want to just throw the relationship away for this, right? Like it's a whole package, right? I'm always a fan of people sticking it out and trying to work through it. But if the partner's really unwilling, then maybe it's just talk about taking a break, letting them be able to work some of these issues out on their own when they're ready. And then you still get a chance to go and date or have sex if you want to.
As soon as you said take a break, I was like, Rachel and Ross, we need to discuss what a break is.
Ross, you had sex with another woman.
I didn't think there was a relationship to jeopardize. I thought we were broken up.
We were on a break.
That, for all I knew, could last forever. That, to me, is a break up.
Yes, there needs to be lots of clarification of what a break is, because people definitely have mixed messages on what that means.
So in this context, you're saying a break would be, the ability to go your separate ways, but the possibility of reconnecting later in the future, but still enjoying, possibly new relationships and new sexual partners.
Yeah. And I think like it's more than just like going and having sex with somebody. I think like a break for them could very well look like I want you to figure out what's going on with you, because it's not just affecting her, right? Like he's retreating from friends and maybe possibly family. So there's something he still needs to go work out and really kind of explore. And so she might just need to say that of like, I need you to go and kind of figure out what's happening with you. And I don't want to be here, keep trying to force you to do that if you're not ready, but I can't keep holding myself here in this relationship if we can't move forward.
Thank you. And now if you want, tell the people, where can they find you? If they want you for services, what are you up to? Let us know.
So if you are in the Virginia area, you can reach out to me for sessions. If you like to book a workshop, or just even a one-on-one consultation about toys or orgasms or masturbation, things like that, you can still reach out to me at sextherapistjen at gmail.com or at psychyourmind.com.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, you can also follow me at Sex Therapist Jen on Instagram, where I answer a lot of questions. I do sex toy reviews and post a lot of content.
This was Cheaper Than Therapy with guest Jenifer Smith. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes on love, sex, and relationships. And in the meantime, fill out your own anonymous user question with the link down below. For Narcity, I'm Brooke Houghton.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our Narcity channel to see more content just like this.